All right, so last time we left off with disputing strategies, right?
Uh-huh.
We're going to take it a step further and we're going to go into advanced disputing strategies so that we can get better results. All right, so the goal here is to let your clients know that, you're armed with, advanced techniques as well that gets faster results and better results. So if you're just doing the same thing everybody else is doing, getting those template letters offline and things like that, you're not going to see much results because everybody's doing that. So it's not as effective, right? So that is also a marketing technique you can use when you're on the phone with people, right? That's going to set you apart from the companies that are like, oh, okay, we just send, letters to just the creditors or just letters to the credit bureaus, right? Is what comes in handy. All right, so first, disputing with the credit bureaus and the creditors at the same time, that is a strategy. However, like I said before, with all disputes, you always want to send your dispute letter to the credit bureaus first. If you're trying to build a case, if it's like a case where you're going to get some pushback or things like that, and you may need to take it to a consumer rights attorney later on, you want to build a case, you always want to send your first letter to the credit bureaus. Okay, now when you're doing this dual strategy, you're basically having both of them respond to the same dispute and to see who's going to actually do their job and investigate and who's going to slip up. Right? So this works because everyone's doing their job a little bit faster. Okay? So the creditor is going to be doing their internal investigation at the same time. And the creditor can identify that they made a mistake when reporting your information to the credit bureaus. Right? So while the credit bureaus are asking for verification, they can then remove or update that inaccurate information from your credit report. So you're hitting them from both ends. Okay, so this is something I would say do later on when you're kind of seasoned with, doing a few disputes. You don't want to jump in with this strategy right away, right? You want to see what you can get from going with the bureaus first and then, following the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 step letter that I gave you. Okay.
Okay.
So here are some of the pros with disputing with the credit bureaus and creditors at the same time. It speeds up the dispute process, remember, because you're hitting them both at the same time. It increases the likelihood that inaccurate information will be removed. Sometimes the creditors don't respond to the credit bureau's disputes. So now you're actually making them work, right? Because sometimes they just ignore it. Even if you send a letter to them, they'll ignore it. But if you're hitting both of them at the same time, they're getting the request from the bureaus, they're getting the request from you. It's giving them more incentive to work. Okay. Now, if you're sending the debt collector or the collection agency a debt validation letter at the same time that you're disputing with the credit bureaus, that debt collector cannot report on that debt to the credit bureaus, right? Remember, we said if we're asking for verification, they're doing their investigation. They cannot collect on the debt at that time. Collection activity also includes reporting information on your credit report. Okay, so that is all inclusive of that. Okay, so if a client receives a dunning letter from a collection agency stating that they owe this money, right, and it's about to go on their credit, you have the right to send them a debt validation letter for them to prove that that alleged debt is accurate. So if a client ever comes to you and they have that initial letter, you want to send a debt validation letter immediately. Okay, so that debt collector now has to send you documentation proving the fact that that client actually claims, owes that debt that they're claiming, the exact amount. And while they're doing that research, they cannot report that negative item to the credit bureaus. They can't collect. That's collection activity. So a lot of times you'll see a client, an account is deleted, like in the first round when you do this part, but it's because, again, they can't report the negative item, but if they verify it, once they've done their investigation, it comes back on because they've completed their investigation. So you will see that some clients will say, oh, my score went up and then it went back down. And if you see that it was because an item was not there and then it reappeared, that's the reason why. They did their investigation, they got the verification, and that's why they were able to put it back. Right? So it's blocked when they're doing their investigation, when you ask for verification or send a debt validation letter. And then if it's verified, it comes back on. If it's deleted, it stays off. Okay, but that's a way to get a quick win. That's a way to get a quick deletion. The cons are, if you do dispute with the same time, again, you lose your right to sue the creditor later if you feel like the creditor has violated your right somehow because you did not dispute with the credit bureaus first. Okay. And another con is sometimes the collection agency will still report anyway. Like they know it's against the law for them to report with that collection activity, but sometimes they do it anyway. Okay.
Got it.
Next strategy is disputing with the good. It works only if the client has a 30-day late payment. 1 30-day late payment. You cannot use this if you have 60-day late, 2 30-day late, 3, 4, 5, 6, right? A bunch of 30-day late, 60 days, 90 days, it's not going to work. This is a favor, right? This is a favor. You're literally begging them, hey, please remove a late payment off my credit report. So you can't be asking for a favor when you're consistently late, right? This is just one payment. You made a mistake. You know, you went out of town and you forgot to schedule the payment, something like that. Something of that nature. Okay. So whatever the issue is, you put that in your letter. You were laid off and, you know, times got hard. That was the only payment you missed. You had an injury. You couldn't work. You were in the hospital, couldn't make the payment, made a mistake, something with the billing. You know, you went out of town, you forgot to schedule it, whatever, right? So you're really humble and polite. It's a one-time courtesy removal. You're going to send it directly to the creditor. So this is the original creditor. This only works with, you know, the original creditor. So if it's the bank, if it's Macy's, if it's Target, if it's Bank of America, right? The original creditor, right? And you're basically just asking them, you know, to remove that 1 day 30 late payment. You promise to be current on your account. You've been current since that 30-day late payment, and you are not over your credit limit, right? You've been making your payments on time since then. You're not over your credit limit, and you are, you know, just in a good position to handle that account here on out. Okay. So the pros with this strategy is that the score will increase when that late payment is removed. And the con is, you know, sometimes it does not work. Sometimes the creditor will come back and say they don't honor removals of late payments. I even tried this strategy by calling them. Okay. I have used the strategy by calling several times. That has worked. And, you know, just keep asking calling different and asking for different people. Like if you get someone who's like, oh, they can't help you. Oh, can I speak to your supervisor? Or you call back and speak to a different person. It doesn't matter, you know, that you keep calling because again, you know, what can they say, right? You just ask to speak to another representative. And then you can also send it via mail. So I do both. Okay. You just never know who you're going to get. Some people are more lenient than others, right? Some people are more forgiving than others. So it always helps to try, right? Try multiple times if you don't get it the first time around. I know I had tried it for a client before, and literally what happened was it was paid early, so it didn't get posted in the right billing cycle. And so a 30-day late payment showed up. And so I just called and I would just like, you know, explain the situation, and they actually did remove it. So here you want to try both. You want to try the goodwill letter in writing, and you want to also try giving a phone call. Obviously, if you have a male client, you will have to go with the letter, because they're obviously not going to believe that you're a man. But there are several names that, you know, can be male or female. So depending on that, you can, you know, go for it and call. Okay. But again, you want to go with both. Definitely go with the letter as well as the call. All right. The next is disputing and a pay for delete. So these pay for delete strategies work with collection agencies. So if there's a collection with the collection agency, you basically have to have the full amount of the debt, 100% of it, right? So this is not a settlement. Settlement, you can negotiate how much you pay, but if you're going to do a pay for delete, it has to be the full amount. All right, so basically you're asking them, reaching out and saying, hey, you know, if I give you 100% of this that I owe, not saying that I owe it, right? But if I give you 100% of this money, will you remove it from my credit report? All right, so you send this pay for delete letter in the mail via certified mail, and you put a line at the bottom for an authorized representative to sign it, right? As soon as they sign it, that's when you're gonna go ahead and send in the money order, cashier's check for payment. So the client has to have the money put to the side. So this is something you're gonna talk over when you sign them, right? So you're gonna pick and choose, like, hey, you know, this one. I usually advise pay for deletes for accounts that's like $200 and less, because I know most people are gonna have that, right? So you can definitely talk it over with your client. If your client is like, okay, you know, I can do 300, then it's up to them, and that's fine. But I usually push, you know, if it's 200 or less, I'm just like, yeah, hey, let's do it. Okay. And then have them put that money to the side, because you need to have that money order ready when it's ready to be sent out. Okay. So when that letter comes back signed, have the client, you know, ready with the money order, and you send it over and allow them 30 to 45 days for them to correct. Okay. Just like a regular investigation. Right. So this strategy you can use either right away for a debt that's, you know, $200 or less, or whatever the person can afford, or if if you're tired of disputing after 6 months or so, and they keep validating the debt, then you offer a pay for delete. But you always want to start with a validation, just to be sure it is your debt or the client's debt, that the amount is correct, and then you can go to the pay for delete. Okay. But again, if the client has the funds to do it and they want fast results, they want quick action, you can say, hey, we can offer a pay for delete and get rid of this debt. And a good thing about pay for delete as well, guys, is that once you pay it and they remove it, they can't resell it to another collection agency for it to reappear. So that does happen when you're disputing. So don't be surprised if you do dispute something, right, and it gets removed, but then later on, like 3 months later, you see it pop up again, but it's with a different collection agency. So what they do is they circulate debts around. So if this company couldn't collect on it, this other company's going to buy it and they're going to try and collect on it. So you will see that, but the pay for delete actually, you know, prevents that, because it's gone now. They got their money, it's been removed, there's no reason to sell it. Okay. A con to this strategy is that sometimes the collector won't respond to your pay for delete request. If they don't respond, send it again, be aggressive until they respond. Again, you can also ask for this over the phone. But again, you want it in writing after you speak with them. So you can say, oh, hey, can I send this to you in the mail? So you can sign it and I'll get the money order sent over to you immediately. So a lot of them will make agreements over the phone. They will tell you BS, okay? Don't fall for it, because a lot of times people will pay and they'll be like, oh yeah, it'll be removed, and then they never remove it. So that's why you want this in writing. Okay? Must be in writing. Okay. Now, another dispute strategy is by offering a settlement. This is going to be different from the pay for delete, because that's a full payment. Settlement, you can negotiate. All right. I only use this option or this strategy when I've exhausted every other strategy. You're disputing for like 6 to 9 months and you just are not getting anywhere, right? Go ahead and reach out to the creditor or the debt collector and offer a settlement. You can start at 20% on the dollar and see what they say. Okay. Now remember, the leverage at the whole time was receiving the money, right? So after receiving that payment, they really don't have any more incentive to report that negative account on the credit report. So you're going to go back and dispute it after the settlement. find an inaccuracy, dispute it again, and more times than not, they will remove it because, again, they got what they want out of it. Okay? So after you settle the account, send a dispute letter to the credit bureaus, and more than likely the creditor will not respond to the dispute, so it'll get deleted. They're just like, they don't want to be bothered because they got what they wanted, right? Okay, I thought he was giving me a gem. I already knew that. Okay. Okay, now this other strategy is disputing by sets. This is really, really, really important to know. So I don't do it often unless I know there's like a whole lot of negatives, right? And I kind of want to mix it up a little bit. So by sets. So let's say you have 30 negative accounts, right? You can break them up into 5 sets. So round 1, you're going to send the first 5, right? For one reason. Round 2, you're going to send the next 5. Round 3, you're going to send the next 5, right? Round 4. So you're going to split them up in sets so that you're not disputing all of them at the same time and getting a flag on the account and mark them as frivolous or irrelevant or something like that. You technically can dispute 20 something accounts at a time. But again, if there's like I had one client who had 90, like I'm not even joking, 90 negative items. So there was no way I was going to put 90 negative items in one letter. I just couldn't do it. So this is what I had to do. I had to do them in sets. So it was very, very powerful and it was very effective because, again, I hit them on one set, I hit them another time, right? And I'm getting deletions as we go. So there was never a round of disputes that we did where we didn't see results. Okay?
Got it.
So we do it all the time, but again, it's going to be up to your discretion. But a lot of people, well, me, I would say personally, I like to do as many disputes in one letter as possible because, again, that gets faster results for your clients. But again, if you kind of know the client is going to be on board for a year or something like that, 12 months, then you can break it up and, see results as you go so that each round you're going to see something, like they know some work is being done, right? So this helps you validate the cost that they're paying for money as well. Okay. Disputing a few items at a time is kind of like the sets, but this one is going to be, like 2 at a time. If you have 10 negative items, you do 2 at a time. All right. Me personally, I don't recommend it again because it drags out the process too much. So the sets will be better. 2 at a time, they're going to call you BS, right? They're going to be like, oh, you're just like Lexington Law. That's only one account got deleted, right? You can use this method if you're like working on your own and you don't want to get overwhelmed and you have the time, or like a friend who's like, okay, take your time or something like that. But it takes forever. The only pro to this is that, it reduces the chances of the credit bureaus flagging your account because it's just 2 accounts. They're like, okay, this must be a real dispute coming in. Okay. Disputing due to identity theft. Now, remember, this is for people who actually had issues with identity theft. Okay? So you'll see a lot of companies out there using this strategy just as credit repair, but that is not legal. Okay? You want to only do it if a client comes to you like, oh my God, I had this issue last year. Somebody stole my identity. I had to go through all this stuff, replace all my stuff, blah, blah, blah. Like, it truly applies to them, right? These are the steps you're going to advise them to take. File a police report. Then you're going to complete the FTC affidavit for identity theft that you can find on the ftc.gov website. It takes 10 minutes to fill out that application, literally just 10 minutes. And you're going to tell them, or you're going to put a security freeze on their credit report or fraud alert. You can do this online as well. It takes 2 minutes. And once you do it with one credit bureau, it's going to send it to the other two. Okay. Next, usually they'll ask to provide like a special password or the phone number so that creditors can verify that they are actually the person who's applying for credit. Okay. Step 5, now you're going to send
And where do you get that, Stephanie, where do you get that password from?
The client will have to create one.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So most of the times a phone number is usually fine, or unless they want a password on their account, then they can do that. But usually they just put their phone number, and then if they're going to go and apply for credit after the identity theft issue, they're going to call them first.
Got it.
And then now you're going to send a dispute letter to the credit bureaus and telling them, hey, they've been a victim of identity theft. List all the accounts that were, an issue that doesn't belong to them. And attach a copy of the police report and the affidavit. And if they can, get the dispute letter notarized. All right. The credit bureaus will now block and remove all the accounts that are listed. Okay, and you send the regular OID as well, driver's license, social security card, bank statement, or utility bill. Okay, you can also call the creditors and file a complaint and let them know that it's due to identity theft and get the address from them on where to send the package to. So everything that you sent to the bureau, the same package, you're going to send to the creditors. So the copy of the police report, the FTC affidavit, the dispute letter, and the accounts included. Okay. Send everything via certified mail with the return receipt and make sure everything is notarized. Okay. The CC strategy, this is really, really powerful as well. It's a Carboncopy strategy where we went over this in the beginning, where you get to letter 3 and the credit bureaus just refuse to remove inaccurate information. You just start copying everybody, right? The FTC, the Attorney General's office, the CFPB, the Better Business Bureau, right? All of those places so that they know, right? You are serious. So you're basically letting the credit bureaus know that you've copied them and they're being notified of the situation as well. So now they don't want any problems. So they're going to be like, okay, cool. She's about her business. Okay. Now, FTC opinion letters. What these are cases that have been reviewed and they give an opinion on how the law is interpreted. Okay, so for example, if a collection agency responds and says, gives you a billing statement, right, for validation of a debt, that's not validation. You're just sending me a printout. Anyone could have typed up a billing statement, right, with just a number of what I owe on it and some charges. So there's a FTC Wollman opinion letter, WOLLMANN, that you would print out and attach to your second dispute letter and let them know, hey, according to this FTC opinion decision, it says that this is not sufficient evidence for validation. So it lets the creditor know or the collector know that you're not playing around. You're going to do what it takes to get the inaccurate information removed, and you are doing research. You're doing more than what is asked of you, right? Okay, so this is very effective as well. So I usually do these on my second round with my collection agency letters when they send kind of crappy validation. If they don't send you a contract with your name on it, with the client's name on it or something like that, then it's not validation. a billing statement or any type of statement that could have just been drawn up from anywhere does not suffice. Okay. Now, online news articles about banks and, fraudulent activity and deceptive practices, you see them all the time. Bank of America sued for such and such, right? Experian sued for such and such. $10 million for, inaccurate information not being removed, whatever. You want to save them, bookmark them, always have them available so you can print them out. So if you see something that's similar to what you're doing, you send it along with your dispute letter. It wakes them up because guess what? They don't want to be sued. If they were sued for $40 million for deceptive practices and they're failing to investigate and you send that news bulletin, don't you think that would get their attention? Remember, it's a psychological thing and most consumers don't do this. Okay? So you want to definitely have those news bulletin articles to help you. Okay? Another strategy is the multiple item disputes. This is really, really strong, okay? So remember I told you when you're writing your disputes, you want to use one dispute reason at a time, right? So that in your next letter, you can have another dispute reason, right? Remember that? Okay. This strategy means you can throw 3 disputes in this letter into one item, okay? So within this one trade line, you can say the date open is inaccurate, right? The date of last activity is inaccurate. You can go after 2 inaccuracies within that one trade line. And this means that the credit bureaus are supposed to investigate both. They can't just come back and say, oh, okay, the date is right, but not investigate the date of last activity. More times than not, they're only going to investigate one of the dispute reasons. They're not going to respond to the other dispute reason. So they're going to tell you what their response is. Oh, we updated the date open. Okay, well, what happens to the date of last activity that I told you to look into? This opens them up for violation. They need to investigate both because that's what you wrote them about. You saw 2 inaccuracies. They need to respond to both inaccuracies. So now this opens them up for a violation. Oh, you didn't respond to this investigation right here. My dispute reason was the date of last activity was inaccurate. You only responded to the date open. Okay, you follow up and then let them know that they violated. All right, now these are like the tactics that you're not going to find in any books, not going to find online or anything like that. Okay. One item dispute pretty much makes sense. This is the method you would use if you don't have a lot of inaccuracies to dispute. Just dispute one account with each credit bureau. If you're only focusing on one account at a time, it increases your chances of getting that. So this is if you just have like 3 inaccurate accounts, that customer will probably be around for like 3 months or 4 months or so. So you'll just dispute one account with each credit bureau. Okay. That's when you don't have a lot. Using case law. Okay. Using case law when it comes to creditors, collectors, and credit bureaus not doing their job. Again, you can send case laws to the creditors about letter 3, right? And this is just letting them know that you're doing some research and you're going to fight to get that negative, inaccurate information removed. And I think I sent you guys a file with sample case laws that you can use. Okay, so if you have trouble finding that, just let me know. This one is thebomb.com. Sending letters to different addresses. The credit bureaus have different addresses everywhere. Okay, each of them have, I want to say, 8 to 10 addresses. Like, they have plenty of addresses. So if the credit bureaus are giving you a hard time and you don't have any success, I would say send your dispute letters to 3 or 4 different addresses, right? So you can send 2 disputes to one address, another set of disputes to the second address, another set of disputes to the third address. This tricks the system into thinking, just to kind of trip them up a little bit when they're in their computer system, when all these different addresses are receiving letters. This is really, really powerful. And you want to send them probably like 2 days apart, 2 to 3 days apart, so they're not all getting them at the same day. Okay. But this is a really powerful strategy. So some of them will come back like return to sender, but I try to hit at least 4 or 5 of them when I use this strategy. So you can use this strategy early on, like around letter 3, or you can wait till around letter 6, 3, 4, or 6. So it's depending on if you're getting a little tired and you want to get a little bit creative and change it up a little bit, on that 4th letter, you can say, all right, I got you guys. Let me hit up all your addresses. Okay. Power of attorney lawsuit if they don't investigate. So this strategy applies to Experian. So years ago, during the deposition for a lawsuit, Experian said that they will not send out a suspicious letter to a consumer or credit repair company if they attach a power of attorney with a dispute letter. Okay? If you send that power of attorney that you have them sign in the beginning, they will investigate. Now, this is kind of a catch-22 situation, so I never, ever use this strategy. I'm just giving you everything that I know, right? But I never use this strategy because, again, it can also bite you in the ass, because the law also says that they have the right to not investigate. You know what I'm saying? So if they feel like it's, deception, frivolous, whatever they feel necessary, they still have that right to say, okay, we're not going to investigate. So, or once they know that person is working with a credit repair company, they cannot investigate, because that is also in the law, right? So I wouldn't use this strategy because it's like, hey, you're announcing yourself. But again, there was a lawsuit where this came from. But again, I don't recommend it. It's just putting yourself out there when you really don't have to. You're going to get results regardless. Even if you have to follow back up with them. If they don't respond in 30, 45 days, you send another letter, okay? And usually after that one, they respond. So I wouldn't get worried and even go to that strategy. The complaint system is very powerful, okay? So this is kind of like the CC strategy, but this is you actually go into these places. So you go into the Federal Trade Commission, filing a complaint. You go into the Attorney General's offices, filing a complaint. The Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, the Better Business Bureau. The CFPB, the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, that one is really, really effective. You go online and you start the complaint and you submit your paperwork for what you're talking about, and they start to reach out to the credit bureaus and say, hey, this person is saying that, you're not investigating and you're not following the law and you're not removing these violations and things like that, like what's going on. So they're going to answer a lot quicker to them, right? So the Federal Trade Commission also regulates and enforces that law that we have to abide by, which is the Fair Credit Reporting Act. That is the law that governs, the consumers that have a right to dispute items, okay? So the Federal Trade Commission is a good place to also complain. So all 4 of these places are great places to CC and actually file a complaint. All right. CFPB, again, is the government organization. They make sure the banks, lenders, and financial companies treat you fairly. They're on the consumer side. Okay. It literally takes 15 minutes to complete the complaint. The CFPB will reach out to the creditors, let them know you filed a complaint against them, and ask them how do they want to respond. Okay. Now they're going to act and communicate with you. So don't be afraid to use them to help you. It does expedite the process. So I would do this probably like around letter 3. If after letter 3, they're not responding, they're not doing what they're supposed to do, you still have those violations there, start filing complaints. Okay. The Attorney General's office, you can file with the Attorney General's office in the creditor state, the collector state. If you feel like the collector has violated the rights in some way, you need to file a complaint with the Attorney General's office, right? They really think they can get away from everything. But when you start complaining, right, to the AG's office, and they're getting complaint after complaint after complaint, you know, they're going to know that you can't be pushed around, and, you know, kind of wakes them up. All right. So a massive attack, though, is filing a complaint with all of them: the Attorney General's office, the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, and the Better Business Bureau. That's a massive attack. Now, they simply don't even want to deal with you because now you're just a pain in the ass, right? So now they just end up just deleting the items because they're like, this person is not letting up. They're getting complaints across all these different agencies. That's messing up their money. They don't want to deal with you. They don't want to deal with a lawsuit. They don't want to deal with inquiries, nothing. So again, that massive attack can definitely help you. And this process takes, you know, 15 minutes, you know, to file this complaint. So 15 minutes to get results for your client is going to be worth it, right? Attorney General's office. If you haven't gotten a response, you can file with your the Attorney General office in the client state. So not just the collector or the creditor, you can file with the client state as well. They will reach out to the debt collector or the creditor and get them to respond. This encourages them to respond if they're not responding to you. All right, so the next strategy is the big guns. The big guns is going to a consumer rights attorney. They specialize in suing credit bureaus, collection agencies, and creditors. I have a couple of resources for consumer rights attorneys that I can send you guys. However, you want to find one that's in your state that can help. Okay, so all you do is Google consumer rights attorneys in Georgia, and typically they take the case, you know, with no fees, and then, you know, bill on the back end. You know, so this is when you've exhausted all your other efforts. I typically don't like to run to them early on. Like, I really try to build my case so you have all the documentation you need, and I just don't, you know, really want to put my clients through that unless I have to. And they'll take the case if they feel like there's a violation. So you have all your ducks in a row, all your paperwork, they'll go over it. If they feel like there's a violation, they'll go over it and take the case, and the client will get punitive damages if they win. The Better Business Bureau, you know, it's really there to foster honesty and healthy relationships between businesses and consumers. So again, you can file complaints there, and they will reach out to the companies and be like, hey, you know, what's your position with this complaint? This is what they're saying. Do you have a response? Again, they have 30 days to respond, and this helps build that relationship so that you can get an answer. Okay. Tracking credit bureau violations. All right. So here are some of those violations that you want to be aware of and track. Not responding to your disputes within 30 days. Again, you want to give an extra 10 or so for the entire process. You know, 5 days for the letter to get there, 30 days to do the investigation, another 5 for the letters to come back. So that's why we say 30 to 45 days. Okay. That's one. Number 2 is putting previously deleted information back on your report without notifying you within 5 days of placing it on your file. Okay? That is against the law. We went over that 2 or 3 lessons before, right? If they delete it and they're going to put it back on you, they need to let you know within 5 days. If they placed it on today, within some 5 days, the next 5 days, you need to hear about it. Do they usually send a letter saying, hey, did you know that we're putting this back on your credit report, or that has been placed back on your credit report? No, they do not. That is a violation. You grab that sucker, circle it on your credit report, you send a letter of the violation. You violated my rights. You did not let me know that you were putting this back on my credit file. Please delete immediately. That is an immediate violation for immediate deletion. Now that right there can go straight to a complaint and go straight to a consumer rights attorney. Okay, that's an easy deletion. All right. 3, not conducting a proper investigation. You'll know if they did or didn't. If the reported date has not changed, you know they didn't investigate, because the last time they looked at the item was in 2017. But I sent you a dispute letter last month. Does that make sense? So you want to look at the date reported. If that has not changed, they didn't do an investigation. Easy violation. File a complaint, take it to an attorney, whatever you have to do. Write a letter, do all of them. Write a letter letting them know you see the violation, they didn't do a proper investigation, you see right through them. You're going to CC, FTC, AGs Office, CFPB, and the BBB, and then you're going to file complaints with them as well. So when you see these easy violations, you want to go straight for the jugular sometimes, okay? Keeping negative information on your credit report for longer than the statute allows, right? So you're going to calculate the statute of limitations for all of them. Remember, it's 7 years from the date of last payment. And if it's still there, problem. Immediate violation. Immediate grounds for removal. They do it all day long, and they don't care. Okay? Even sometimes if you send support and documentation with your disputes, they're not sending that stuff over to the creditor. So how is that a proper investigation? Right? You can get them on all sorts of violations. All right, so that's why you want to track all these things. Okay? Failure to provide their method of verification. The method of verification, remember, that's your second letter. So after you do your personal information dispute, second, you do your general dispute with your factual reasons, and then next you're going to say, hey, right? Remember, how did you verify this information? What are your methods of verification? You got 15 days to let me know. Okay? So if they don't give you their method of verification, that's a violation. They're supposed to let you know. They have 15 days to provide it. A simple letter with their method of verification. Let me know how you verified this. Who did you know? Who are you talking to? Who do you get your information from? Is it a third party? Is it the creditor? You know, let me know. How do you verify this information? They should be able to get that to you in 15 days. If they do not, that is violation, grounds for removal. All right, so these are the errors you want to be tracking, the violations you want to be tracking. That's with the credit bureaus, right? Credit bureau violations. Now we're on to creditor violations. When a creditor violates, if they ignore your request for an investigation, if you write them a letter and say, hey, I'm looking into this account, I need you to do an investigation, something doesn't seem right, violation if they don't respond. Reporting inaccurate information to the credit bureaus. When you bring it to their attention and they don't fix it, you're like, hey, such and such is wrong. I disputed it with the credit bureaus. I asked you to look into it. I disputed it with you, and you still have not fixed it. Violation. Failed to report as being in dispute with the bureaus. This one you're going to find all day, every day, right? So let's say you disputed last month, and you get a new credit report in the mail. And next to or in the notes section or somewhere in that account trade line, it does not say account is in dispute or dispute resolved. Some type of in dispute notation must be on that account. If you didn't dispute it at all, that notation will not be there. But if you included it in your dispute letters, that in dispute notation should be on your credit report. If it's not there, that means they did not do an investigation, they're lacking in their work, they didn't do something right. That is a violation. That should be your second letter. This is a violation. You're missing the in dispute notation. Delete. Do you know how many deletions we get just off of that? Because they didn't say the account was in dispute? A lot. Very quick deletion. But you got to know that you're looking for it. That's the problem. A lot of people don't know that that's what they should be looking for. They just look at the account and just say, oh, what's wrong with it? They don't look for the notation if the account was in dispute. How can you just be reporting this account and not let people know that I'm disputing it? Okay. Duplicate account reporting. This we all know. If a creditor or collection agency is reporting twice the same debt, you know that it's a violation, immediate violation. Okay. Collection agency violations now. So that was creditors. These are collection agencies. Re-aging your accounts, okay? If they're making the account look newer than it is, and that's not the case, that's a violation. Failure to respond to a debt validation letter, still reporting to the bureaus within 30 days, that's a violation. Calling before 8 a.m. and after 9 p.m., violation. Remember the FDCPA that we went over, right? The rules and regulations for collection agencies. Calling your phone too many times, right? Making threats to force you to pay. Saying that they will sue you when they know they can't because the statute of limitations have expired. Reporting a late payment when collection accounts are closed. How can it still be late if the account is closed? It's not open. I'm not late. Look for that. That's a easy removal. A lot of my collection deletions come from that. If they're reporting a late payment after the closed account. If it's a closed account, they cannot report a late payment after that close date. How does that make sense? I'm not late anymore. Stop reporting a late payment. Okay. Any questions with there?
I'm good.
Okay, good, great. All right. Here's a secret weapon. How to get inaccurate collection accounts removed from your credit report. When you send in a debt validation letter, the collector has to notify the credit bureaus and let them know you're disputing that account. Again, this is very important. If the collector does not report the item as being in dispute to the bureaus, easy deletion. This is what you're looking for. Send the debt validation letter to the collection agency. Wait 30 days, pull a copy of your credit report. Look at the account. And if it's not marked as in dispute, if it doesn't say in dispute, there's a violation. Now you're gonna send a follow-up letter to the collection agency, letting them know about this violation. You did not report this account as in dispute. And then just ask for your damages. I'm asking for punitive damages for this violation. You think they're not gonna delete it? Because you're following the law? They know you're following the law? Easy. You go straight to the collection agency. You did not report this account as in dispute on my credit report. I looked at it today. It's not there. It's a violation of the FCRA. I'm asking for $1,000 in punitive damages. Thank you very much. Have a nice day. Delete this account. All right. I'm trying to decide if I want to go over this stuff. No, because I think this goes with rebuilding. I don't. Do you want to go over rebuilding strategies, or do you want to save that? Because it's kind of a lot.
I have 5 pages of notes.
Oh my gosh, let's save that. Save that. That is A-okay. Yeah, let me change this because credit check total has moved. So we're bought out. All right, cool. So yeah, we'll save rebuilding, which is what I wanted to do anyway. So yeah, here we go. We stopped here. Next time we'll pick up over all the different scoring models and what you're really looking to do when you're helping somebody rebuild. Remember, the dispute process is only a portion of it. That's not what's going to get them points. That's not what's going to improve, right? Disputing is just cleaning up the credit report. The points come from the rebuilding strategies. What products do you have to offer? How are you getting them an 80-point increase? How are you getting their scores to jump 150 points? Okay? So this is what all this is going to go over. You got to know exactly what they're lacking so that you know exactly what you need to offer. You can even hit them with that in the initial call. You're lacking installment accounts. You're lacking any type of revolving credit. So the solution to that is that you need to apply for, let's say, 2 secure credit cards and this 1 installment loan that will add a $5,000 line of credit to your credit report, and you'll see anywhere between a 40 to 90 point increase in your credit. They'll be like, oh, really? Wow, I didn't know that. So you're educating them and you're offering what? A solution.
Solution. Mm-hmm.
Exactly. You're letting them know straight up how you're going to help them. So if they didn't know that that's what they needed and you're telling them that's what they need, why wouldn't they sign up with you? So those are things that you want to know up front so that you can book them. And you already know what you're going to send them because you know what products they need. If they don't have any installment loans, you're going to send them, maybe for a self-lender loan. If they need a revolving line of credit, maybe you'll send them to my jeweler's club. If they don't have any credit cards, maybe you'll send them to, Capital One for a secure credit card or the credit builder card so you can get a commission. Okay? So you need to know all of the rebuilding products and the rebuilding strategies so you know what to offer them up front. And then they'll know that you know your stuff and you know how to help them. That's all they want to know at the end of the day is, can this person help me? But she told me what my credit report looks like. She showed me the negatives. She showed me what I'm lacking, and she showed me a solution to fix all of it. She told me she can dispute, right, with the credit bureaus and the collection agencies, which gets better results other than people who just dispute with one. She also told me that, my score is where it is because I'm lacking positive credit. And then she showed me the products or the resources that I can use to get the positive credit and build my score. She sounds legit. Okay. That's what I need. Right? So you're going to really master evaluating the credit report and then master letting them know how you can help them. That's it. Okay.
Got it.
Cool. So next week we'll go over rebuilding strategies, and I think after that we'll go over affiliates. How you can start building your army of affiliates, because that's really important. That's really how you're going to build your business. Okay.
Alrighty.
Well, good. All right. So this is. Hold on. Let me be sure that Okay, I just want to be sure it was recording. It'd be really bad if it didn't, but we're good. We're good. All right, cool. Any questions on anything tonight, anything we spoke about weeks ago, from the beginning to now? Any questions whatsoever? Pick my brain. Any questions you thought of? Anything you came up with? Things came to you about?
No, I don't have any questions.
Oh, okay. I responded to your email. Thank you so much for giving me that update. So what have you been doing to see that increase?
Actually, I haven't did anything. I think I don't know if I don't know if you know how they be on your report so long. I guess some fell off. I didn't have a chance to go through and look at the whole report. Mm-hmm. I just the email that says your score has increased. So I looked at it real quick and I was like, oh, that's cool. And then I got at work and I didn't have a chance to dive deep in. But I did notice that one of them still they didn't change my personal information. They still got it all jacked up.
Which one?
I think it is. I want to say it's not Experian. I want to say TransUnion still has it messed up. I have to double check. I have to look at it again and see. Because one of them have it, like, I have one line on everything. And then, like, the other two have, like, variations.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Anything else that you noticed?
No, I didn't have a chance to go in depth with
Okay.
it.
All right. So you say no questions for me?
No.
Okay, cool.
I'm just soaking in all these notes I just took.
Okay, Good. It's a good thing. Suck them all up. Suck them all up. All right, cool. So I'll send the recording out, and I already sent out the files for this lesson as well. Y'all get that. If you're missing anything or you can't get it, let me know. I'll resend it. But you should have that. And that's it.
All righty.
Yeah.
I'll talk to you next time.
See you next week. Have a good night.
All right, you too.
Okay, bye.
Bye-bye.